Iowa guy, I wanted to be a part of that.
This is the Hometown Hoops Podcast with Drake Men's Basketball and your host, Michael Admire.
All right, sometimes I just got to let that music roll just a little bit longer to get in the feels of the Hometown Hoops Podcast. A week from Monday, there's a Drake basketball game. Let that soak in for just a little bit. This is the Hometown Hoops Podcast. My name is Michael Admire here on the Drake Sports Media Podcast Network, and we are powered up by Learfield. Of course, every episode of the Hometown Hoops Podcast is streamed and archived on the Drake Athletics YouTube page. It also streams live on the Drake Men's Basketball Facebook page, or check us out through the free Varsity Network app or wherever you get your podcast. Just search for Hometown Hoops Podcast. We've got a fun episode here today as we welcome you into the Drake Sports Media Studios. Rob Dauster from the Field of 68 will join us to talk about the opening day marathon. Where do mid-majors fit in this world of college basketball and all sorts of other good stuff? The Field of 68, they do such a good job of focusing on basketball, college basketball. And, you know, you get spread thin in some areas. Some people try to do a little bit of everything. Gosh, Field of 68, they focus on the main thing. They keep the main thing. And now they're, taking over MTEs and the opening day, which, again, not too far away. So Rob Dauster, want to thank him for his time. He's coming up here in just a little bit. So as this season comes into focus, here are three thoughts I have on these Drake Bulldogs. Over the past 3 seasons, and add this upcoming roster as well, 45 different players have worn the Drake blue and white. Of course, 3 different coaches during that time as well. It's a sign of the times. But can these 13 Bulldogs do it again? Well, first off, connection will be paramount. Unlike last year's turnover to tournament team, Coach Henderson brings only 1 player with him from South Dakota State. You pair that with 2 returners from last year's roster, Andrew Aaliyah and Eli Shetler. The rest of this roster comes from all over the place, from freshmen to transfer, JUCO route. It's a mixed bag of everything. Now, Hendo has a knack for bringing people and players together. How quickly can this team form the connection on the court that it takes to win those big games? And then there's the guard play. This is one of the deepest groups of guards that Drake has had in some time. Jaysean Thomas, Jalen Quinn, got some wings that you mix in there with Braden Applehans. Already mentioned Aaliyah and Shetler. And then there's, Owen Larson, who is working his way back from off-season knee surgery. All these guys provide a little bit of something. The depth is impressive, but how do the minutes and points get spread around in early November, likely without Owen Larson? How does it adjust when he gets back? How this group navigates those challenges will be a major factor in the overall team success. And then one question I have, is this defense for real? This is the biggest Drake team in the past 8 seasons, and it's not even really close. In the scrimmage against Wichita State, it was the defense that really jumped out to me, not the signature Hendo offense that we've come to know from his Jackrabbit teams. This group plays hard. They're long, as I've mentioned, and they've got some of that junkyard dog in them. That will definitely play in the Missouri Valley Conference. But can this group be consistent on that end for 40 minutes a night and 34 games? That's going to be a huge question moving forward. And those are some of my thoughts as we get closer and closer to this opening night. All right, so there's that. Now let's turn our attention to today's guest as we welcome in from the Field of 68, Rob Dauster. Rob, thanks for your time. Basketball season is upon us. How's everything going in your world?
It'll be a lot better once we get through all of these media days and the crazy nature of the preseason. But I can't wait for November 3rd. I can't wait for the chance to get up to Sioux Falls, and I can't wait for the start of the college basketball season. And we are almost to the point where we can stop projecting and predicting and talking about what we think is going to happen and get a chance to be able to actually talk about basketball games that we're all watching. I can't wait.
Well, the fun thing about, podcasts and some of the stuff that you all do is we're going to do a little bit of that here today. We're going to talk a little bit about what could be and what might be and all that stuff. But first, I want to hear a little bit about the Field of 68. I'm not sure I've ever heard of like the origin story, but I mean, you all are tens of thousands of viewers and subscribers across all of your social media platforms. How did Field of 68 come about, and what has it grown into?
So it started, I used to work for NBC Sports, and in August of 2020, when they had their COVID layoffs, I was part of their COVID cutbacks. And when that happened, it was like early August of 2020, and stuff was still shut down. And we didn't know when sports were going to be back, if sports were going to be back. We didn't know if college basketball was ever going to exist again at that point, if you remember where we were in 2020. I've known Jeff Goodman forever, right? And he texted me and he was like, hey, listen, now's the time. If we've been talking about doing our own thing and starting something where college basketball was the only thing that mattered. And he hit me and he was like, listen, now's the time to do it. You got a little bit of severance money. You got a little bit of a chance to be able to go out and try to build something. Cause I didn't have anything else, right? It wasn't like anyone was hiring immediately to cover a sport that no one knew if it was actually going to happen. So, it initially started as trying to build out a network of podcasts with a former player hosting a pod for every Division I program, talking to his former coaches and old teammates and telling back in the day stories and reacting to games and things along those lines. And what we found throughout that process of growing was that the best way for us to be able to get viewers and get interaction and get eyeballs was to kind of do the instant reaction stuff, right? We were going live after the COVID tournament in 2021, just talking about what just happened in that night. And we were getting more viewers, more eyeballs, more people paying attention than we did for anything else that we did that year. So we were like, why don't we lean into this? And in 21-22, the year that Kansas won it in New Orleans, what we did was we created Field of 68 After Dark. And that was designed to kind of be like Baseball Tonight was when I was growing up. I remember in the summer, I would just come home at night and I would put on Baseball Tonight at 11 o'clock and I would sit there and I would watch everything that happened in baseball that day. And we wanted to create something that existed from a national perspective in that world, right? Like you get some on ESPN, but they only talk about the game you just watched. And you get some on CBS, but they only focus on the games that are on their platforms. You don't get someone that is talking about everything that happened in the world of college basketball that night. And we thought that it needed it. We thought that college basketball needed it. So we started doing that. It took off more than I ever imagined that it could. And from there, we just started building out different pieces. We said, hey, you know what? We want to try to do some games. So we went out and we created the opening day marathon that we're doing. We said that we wanted to be able to have different branches of pods that we were going to do and have different kind of niches that we would dive into. So we're doing a bracketology podcast. We have the Dauster, T.O. and Fanta podcast. We have the Goodman, Hummel, and McCall podcast. So we started trying to build out different avenues to be able to create content. And it just, every year we try to add another piece and another dynamic and another portion of what we're doing. And so far it's worked. You know, at some point I feel like it might slow down, but it just is, as long as we're growing and as long as the money's coming in and as long as we have sponsors, like we might as well put as much stuff out there as we possibly can. Well,
it doesn't hurt to be in live sports, which is where you guys are kind of dipping your toes into the last couple of years. And man, credit to you all. There have been a lot of things that have come from COVID, or at least, lasted for a year or two and then fizzled out. because people got back into buildings and whatever the case may be. You guys have kept it going, and that's a credit to you all. All right, the taking on a live game, and not just one game, but creating an MTE, creating a tournament, that is a totally different world than being on the journalism side of things. So what has it been like building out this 2-location tournament, essentially?
A lot of planning meetings, a lot of Zooms where you got to get 17 different people involved and trying to get them all in the same spot at the same time. It's so much more goes into planning out a college basketball event than I ever realized possible, right? Like, you got to figure out where the truck's going to come from. You got to figure out the different angles you're going to have on the camera shots. You got to figure out how you're going to be able to get those different camera shots to a monitor that is sitting at the scorer's table so that those guys are going to be able to see replays. You got to figure out how you're going to be able to get the referees to show up, right? You got to figure out how you're going to be able to get all those teams in town and who's going to be staying where. If you have 6 teams playing in the same building on the same day and they all get there the day before, who's going to practice when? How are you going to get those teams in there? Who's going to eat where, when, right? Like, everybody has their different needs and their different ways that they do things. And it just, there's so much more to it than simply saying, hey, you know what, let's go play a basketball game and see what happens. And credit to the guys at Sioux Falls, the guys at the Sanford Pentagon. Like, they are unbelievable at doing this stuff. They have it down to an absolute science, where for us, it's just kind of like, show up, make sure everyone's involved. We're the connectors. They solve all the problems. And when I say problem, like, we don't have problems. They make everything work almost flawlessly. So it's been a lot of fun to work with those guys up there. It's been a lot of fun to kind of put this stuff together, and getting into the live event space it's not something I think I ever envisioned, but when it always frustrated us that college basketball didn't have the pop on the opening day. Like, the first day of the NFL season, everybody is watching that game on that Thursday night, right? It's one of the highest viewed sporting events you're going to get the entire year. The first day of the baseball season, opening day, is a holiday in a lot of places. You see it with college football in week 0. You see it with basically every sport except college basketball. And we just figured, like, let's try to, if we can, find a way to make this be something. And maybe it's not going to be having, Florida play Houston in a national title game rematch on national television at noon on a Monday, right? But if we can find a way to be able to put together some good games with some fun teams and some interesting coaches and some good storylines, and be able to turn it into trying to recreate the marathon that ESPN used to have, that feels like something where it can be an event that the real college hoops fans can get excited about.
Absolutely. And you guys have kind of tapped into the mid majors, especially this year. What is it? And you guys were on Drake early last year, helped that we were down in Charleston, where Jeff was covering us for 4 consecutive days. So that was cool. But I don't know, maybe big picture too here. Where do mid majors fit into the world of college basketball now, and how do you see the importance?
I mean, they're getting squeezed out, man. Like, that's the problem with the way that scheduling is going right now. What the big boys, what the Power 5 is trying to do is they basically want quad ones, where they're going to be playing against other Power 5 opponents, where a loss won't matter and a win can change what your resume looks like, or play quad 4s, where you can go out and you can beat the 278th team in America by 40 points and try to rig the system when it comes to the metrics, and when it comes to net, and when it comes to KenPom, and when it comes to those things. And the teams that are really good mids are always going to be in that, like, 70 to 100 range, like where Drake has been recently, where programs like South Dakota State was, where a lot of those Missouri Valley teams kind of exist. Same thing with the Southern Conference. It's not going to be what's happening in Sioux Falls, but we got Furman and we got High Point and we got programs like that. They're going to be involved, Winthrop, Queens, and what we're doing in Rock Hill. And those programs are kind of in that quad 2 range, which makes you the worst kind of team to play for these power conference teams, because you're good enough to beat them, right? Like, Drake's been good enough to go into a high majors home court and beat them. And that doesn't look good when it's a non-power 5 because, oh, we're losing to a mid-major, even if that mid-major is going to be better than half of the teams in that power conference's league. So it's the optics of it. It's the way that the metrics kind of work and optimizing the system. It just, all of those mid-major programs are getting squeezed out, which is why, and this is off topic, which is why, like you see Field of 68 here, I don't want it to go to 76 because I don't see any way where these mid-majors are going to be able to have that opportunity. All you're going to see is more high major power conference programs trying to squeeze those guys out. And it's not fair. It sucks. And the way that I think the best thing to kind of do for that to try to fix it is to, one, create a platform and create a place where you can get some of these quality games and quality opponents for the mid majors that are looking for games like that. And two, be able to celebrate them. It's part of why we do all these mid-major media days, right? We did Missouri Valley Media Day on the first day. What was it? September 29th. We've done SoCon Media Day. We have Ivy League and Southland Media Day next week. We just did MAC and America East Media Day. Big South last week. American the week before that. Who am I missing? Big West.
Yeah, you had MAC and American East. I think you mentioned those. Yeah.
Yeah. So like those, being able to put those teams and those programs and those leagues in the spotlight is a way to be able to celebrate them and kind of hopefully let people know, like, hey, these teams exist and they're pretty damn good too.
That's so cool. Why for this year? Why Drake? Why Coach Hendo and company?
We have blackmail on Eric Henderson, and so he has to do anything that we say.
You must be the only person that has that blackmail because he's just like seems like an all-American guy.
No, I'm kidding. It's the return to South Dakota, that opportunity. Yeah. It's the chance to be able to get an opponent like Northern Arizona. It is playing in an event that is probably close enough for Drake fans to be able to get to, and if they want to be able to get there. It is the fact that I think that he has a level of loyalty, right? And he has a level of like the people that are there with me. I want to be able to stay with them. And I think he understands the value of kind of what his start at South Dakota meant for him and his start in Sioux Falls and some of the things that those guys have done. And look, I would be lying if I said we didn't hard sell him. He is as entertaining as he is, the personality that he has. Like, we wanted him involved in this event, regardless of where he was coaching. And then once he got the job at Drake, it was like, oh, Hendo, come on, you're coming, man. You don't have a say in this matter. Just, tell us what we need to be able to do to make this happen because you're coming. You don't have a choice. You don't have a say.
All right. So for our fans, what does watching a game on the Field of 68 YouTube channel or on X look like? And then for fans that make the trip up to Sioux Falls, what does that look like and how can they get tickets?
So you can get tickets by going through, I believe it's Ticketmaster. I can send you the links for where you can purchase them. I believe there will be tickets that will be available at the door as well to be able to buy if you walk up. The venue that it's in, the Pentagon, is unbelievable. It's one of the coolest basketball gyms I've ever been in. They built it, they designed it to be like an old school 1950s era South Dakota high school gym. And for people that aren't aware of what South Dakota high school basketball is like it's basically Indiana North, right? With how important it is and how much it matters. There aren't any professional teams in South Dakota. The professional teams are South Dakota State, South Dakota, and then the local high schools, basketball and football. And they take it very, very seriously. And the arena is just it's bleachers in there. The scoreboard that they have has a clock that is like the two hands of a clock to be able to do the time. The vibe, the aesthetic, it's like a museum when you walk in with South Dakota basketball history. So anyone that hasn't been there, I would very strongly recommend you try to be able to find a way to make a trip up because it'll be a really, really fun event for you. I would also say that to watch it, YouTube is probably the best bet because that will be the easiest way to be able to see it on something other than just your phone. right? The Twitter streams will be great for people that are on their phone or on a laptop. If you want to be able to get it on your TV, you got to be able to get the YouTube app. You got to be able to stream it there, but it'll be there. It'll be there on demand. It's never going to come down. You can still go back and you can watch the South Dakota State game last year where your new point guard, Owen Larson, hit a big shot to beat Will Wade and McNeese State on our broadcast. So YouTube is probably the best bet for if you are trying to watch it on a big screen TV. But if you're traveling, if it's during the day, if you're at work, if you're at your office, just pull your phone out. Go to the YouTube app, find the Field of 68. It'll be right there. It's very easy to find once you get up there. There's not a lot of channels that have the name Field of 68 in it, so you'll be able to see it.
And the popular After Dark program that you all do on the Field of 68 will be co-hosting from there, right? So it'll be content all night.
Yeah, we'll be there that night. We'll have two different sets. One set will be in Rock Hill. One set will be in South Dakota State. Will be in South Dakota State. Be at Sioux Falls. And we'll be doing our live broadcast there that night for an hour after the games because 16 hours of live basketball is not enough. We figure we got to spend another hour afterwards breaking it all down and talking to people about it.
Well, we will be up there in about a week and a half. Rob Dauster, thanks for your time, man. I appreciate you.
Can't wait.